everyone. I'm here with Jim Whitehurst, the new president of IBM. Jim, so great to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
So it's about a month in. How are things going as the new president at IBM?
Well, it's been a whirlwind. Obviously, it's an odd situation to take a new role, given we're all working remotely. We have Think this week, which is a big event, so we've been doing a lot of work planning for that. Some exciting announcements there. But overall, it's going well. People have been really, really welcoming. I think people are excited about what Red Hat brings, and I'm excited about what we can do now as IBM, in the context of hybrid cloud and all the strategic levers we have. And spent a lot of time with customers that are excited about it as well.
New CEO as well, Arvind Krishna, and you guys have a working relationship, known each other for a long time, or is that new as well?
No, we've been working together for a long time. Well before even the idea of an acquisition came up. Arvind and I got together and talked about the value of having a single platform that software runs on. And so it's been several years ago now that Arvind came to the Red Hat Summit, which it was last week, but this was several years ago, and announced IBM software running on what's called Red Hat OpenShift, our container platform, and things blossomed from there. And then obviously he led the deal, so we've been working together a lot over the last couple of years as the deal came together and closed last July, and since we've been working really together daily. So we work well together.
I know you want to talk about Think 2020, but before we do that, I want to ask you, what is it like working remotely at such a big company, and how are you managing your people? How's that all going for you, Jim?
Well, yeah, that's something I think every executive's struggling with right now. We've tried to be heavy on using video. So I'm on video calls probably 8-9 hours a day. I'm also trying to do at least weekly touch-ins with kind of the broad, kind of an all-hands meeting. So either that's a town hall or a specific topic, or for this last week, I didn't have time given everything going on with Think, so literally just recorded a couple minutes of thoughts on the week before. So trying to do as much as possible to stay in touch with people. At the same time, IBM, actually this came from the bottom up, so this certainly didn't come from me. We kind of created this work from home manifesto, which saying, it's okay if your kids run through, we have to be understanding of that, and kind of that the various complexities of working at home and being understanding around that. So I think we're trying to balance, making sure that we connect with an understanding that we're not working in ideal circumstances.
Right. So you do have Think 2020, which I gather is a virtual conference this year, but maybe that makes sense because you're doing it's IT focused, it's for CIOs, and it's a great time to be doing it and understanding how you can use technology. But one of the focus points I understand is AI for IT. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, sure. And let me first off say we're really excited about Think. We have, I want to say 3x the number of participants we normally have. And I should say that was true of Red Hat Summit last week. I think enough people are at home and may have some free time that they're actually coming to learn, which is really, really exciting. So we appreciate so many people who are coming. So AI for Ops we're really excited about. One of the observations of the power of, I'll call cloud, is that when you have a common infrastructure and you can see problems, you can learn at a very fast pace about, well, what are those problems? How do you proactively identify a problem and fix it before it really becomes an outage? And if you're running an individual data center or an individual kind of instance of a private cloud, you don't get the learnings that can happen kind of broadly. So what we're doing is basically taking the power of AI and the learnings that IBM has had running massive data centers, and a lot of instances around the world, and bringing that to enterprises, to our clients, in a way that they get the benefits of all of that learning and the intelligence that we can embed with AI to be able to run their operations more efficiently, effectively, and certainly more reliably. The cost of an outage is $260,000 an hour, roughly, and so being able to avoid those is hugely valuable.
Another part of the ecosystem that you're focusing on, my understanding is 5G. And talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, this is something that's really exciting to us. If I go back and I'll put my old Red Hat on, one of the things that Red Hat did was help break the tie between hardware and software by putting in a open source abstraction layer. So all of a sudden, if you built an application for Linux, it didn't matter what server it ran on. Linux made sure that was possible. And if you made a server, as long as you certified it to Linux, any application could run on it. And so much of the power, and certainly that enabled what we think of as cloud computing today, right? It wouldn't exist without Linux and that power. When we think about what's happened in the network until now has looked a lot like the traditional old, vertical stacked Unix data center. And with this rollout of 5G, there's also a rollout of new technology, which is, again, commodity, x86 architectures running an open source substrate, whether that's, Kubernetes and containers or OpenStack, both open source technologies. And then all the network functions or virtual network functions that sit on top of that. What's really exciting about it to me, though, is the same technology we're using to do that in the data center, so containers and Kubernetes and OpenStack, is the same technology rolling all the way out to the edge. So now when we talk about a cloud, the cloud can go from the data center all the way out to the edge. And so if you're thinking about, making sure paint on a car, is of high quality and has no defects, you can build that application in a data center. You can actually run it out on a device, in the factory, do the analysis at the edge, and only send telemetry back. And so your ability to have that broader fabric of where and how compute happens is critically important. So we're working with telcos around the world, both laying the infrastructure, and then IBM, we're also laying the management plane that sits on top of that solves problems either for enterprise edge or for 5G for telcos themselves.
Jim, so IBM has had some struggles in terms of top line growth over the past several years. How do these two initiatives, or maybe other initiatives, tie into the strategic direction that you and Arvind are looking to implement?
Well, when we look at where we see clients having issues, right, it is this move towards a hybrid cloud and how to leverage really the biggest technology kind of transition we've seen around AI, and how you either build AI-infused business processes or any application is going to have AI. So when you think about those two problems, hybrid cloud, and Arvind will talk about this, in his keynote. I'm sure you'll get a chance to watch that. He talks about the fact that, there are real physics issues with latency and other issues. So you're going to have workloads running in remote locations in your own data centers, but there's a lot of power to cloud as well. So having a fabric that runs everywhere is critical. And so we're really focused on laying down that fabric of hybrid cloud. And I always come back to that fabric because a lot of people, talk about hybrid cloud, right? It's the term du jour, but most people mean, we'll give you a management tool so you can have visibility into things running. We're literally talking about running and developing and delivering via a product called OpenShift, a single hybrid platform that runs everywhere. So you can build once and run anywhere. And then a platform for AI that allows you to leverage AI across all of those models. And so that's what we see as the single biggest issue that clients are facing today. So certainly that's an area where there's a lot of growth, and we're a leader there, and we plan to accelerate even further into it.
Jim, last question. You talk to a lot of CIOs and CTOs. What are the biggest issues that they're concerned about given this coronavirus epidemic and the economic fallout and the work conditions that we have now?
Sure. Well, there's I'd say short term, while we're in this issue, which is how do you enable people to work well from home? And so a ton of work working with clients to make sure they have the capacity to be able to support a massive, great number of workers working at home. Security, that opens up a whole set of security related issues. And so, we're working with clients around the world around that. This even further highlights the value of hybrid cloud because everyone's looking also how to think about, cost and budgets in this time, and having flexibility for where and how you move applications, whether that's moving on the cloud to save money, or if you have room in your data center, moving off the cloud to turn off a variable expense. So all of the kind of components we're doing around that, those are kind of critical things that the clients are looking at now. What I'd say is that's just keeping operations up and resilient and working, as well as supporting work from home. And then certainly we're seeing kind of a path forward where people are going to recognize that their budgets are going to be stretched. and how are they thinking about it? I'd say medium term, how do I think about taking more cost out of my infrastructure to make sure you can hit budgets this year that are likely to get smaller than when they were originally planned at the beginning of the year. So it's kind of the short term and then the kind of the medium term on the cost side.
All right, Jim Whitehurst, president of IBM, thank you so much for your time and good luck to you going forward.
Thanks so much for having me. Great to get a chance to chat.